What if I told you that some of history's greatest cities never existed? Or did they? While everyone knows about Atlantis, there are far more intriguing lost cities that most people have never heard of. From a Russian city that made itself invisible to a Hindu metropolis sleeping beneath the waves. These aren't just myths. They're windows into how ancient cultures viewed paradise, punishment, and the thin line between history and legend. Our journey begins in ancient Mexico with Aztlan, the mythical homeland of the Aztec people. Imagine an island paradise in the middle of a great lake, where 7 tribes lived in perfect harmony before beginning their epic migration south. If this sounds a bit like Atlantis, you're not wrong. But Aztlan has something its Greek cousin doesn't: actual historical evidence. According to Aztec codices, Aztlan wasn't just a paradise. It was a highly organized city-state with advanced agriculture, magnificent temples, and a complex social structure. The fascinating part? Archaeological evidence suggests this mythical place might have been real. Recent discoveries in northern Mexico have uncovered sites that match the Aztec descriptions with uncanny accuracy, including an island city dating to exactly the right time period. The name Aztlan literally means place of whiteness or place of herons, and Aztec manuscripts describe it as an island surrounded by water and marshlands filled with white birds. Modern researchers have identified several locations that match this description, including sites in Nayarit in Jalisco. More intriguingly, genetic studies of modern Mexican populations show migration patterns that align perfectly with the legendary journey from Aztlan. Moving to ancient India, we find Dwarka, the legendary golden city built by Krishna himself. According to Hindu texts, this magnificent metropolis had 900,000 royal palaces, all made of crystal and precious metals. But here's where it gets interesting. Unlike many mythical cities, we've actually found Dwarka, or at least what's left of it. Marine archaeologists discovered the remains of a massive ancient city in the Arabian Sea, right where the text said it would be. The underwater ruins stretch for over 5 miles and include the remains of massive stone walls, pillars, and artifacts dating back at least 3,500 years. The timing matches perfectly with the period when Krishna is said to have lived according to Hindu chronology. The most fascinating aspect of Dwarka isn't just its discovery, but how accurately ancient texts described its location and structure. Sanskrit scholars had long dismissed descriptions of Dwarka's multi-story buildings and sophisticated harbor system as fantasy, until divers found exactly these features preserved underwater. Sometimes mythology is just history waiting to be discovered. Off the coast of Brittany lies the legend of Yez, a magnificent city protected from the sea by massive bronze gates. Built by King Gradlun for his daughter Dahut, Yez was said to be more beautiful than even Paris, which is why Parisians have a saying, "Is Paris when Yez stood was worth nothing." Is Paris when Yez drowned worth half of your ease? The story goes that Princess Dahut threw wild parties that would make modern rock stars blush, culminating in a divine punishment that saw the city swallowed by the waves. But here's the interesting part. Geologists have found evidence of a massive flooding event along the Brittany coast dating to around the 5th century CE, exactly when the legend says Yez was destroyed. Modern archaeologists have discovered something even more intriguing. Ancient Celtic settlements along this coast really did have sophisticated flood control systems, including massive wooden gates remarkably similar to the bronze gates in the legend. The story of this might be preserving the memory of real engineering achievements and their catastrophic failure. Imagine a city that, rather than being destroyed, chose to become invisible. That's the story of Kitej, the Russian Atlantis. When Mongol forces approached the city in the 13th century, its inhabitants prayed for salvation. Instead of being destroyed, the entire city sank beneath Lake Svetloyer. But rather than drowning, it transformed into a paradise invisible to the unworthy. The fascinating thing about Kitej is how it blends history and miracle. We have actual historical records of Mongol invasions in the region, and archaeological evidence shows there really was a settlement near Lake Svetloyer. Even today, local residents claim that on quiet nights, you can hear church bells ringing from beneath the water. Modern sonar surveys of Lake Svetloyer have revealed unusual structures on the lakebed that some researchers believe could be building foundations. Even more interesting, Geological studies show evidence of a massive landslide during the 13th century that could have submerged part of the shoreline, potentially giving rise to the legend. Deep in the Arabian desert lies the story of Iram, a city of towering pillars and unprecedented luxury that vanished beneath the sands. The Quran mentions it as a warning about pride and excess, calling it the many-columned Iram that was punished for its people's defiance of divine warnings. For centuries, Iram was considered pure myth, until NASA satellite imaging revealed ancient caravan routes converging on a site in Oman. Subsequent archaeological excavations uncovered the remains of a massive ancient city with tall towers and impressive architecture. Even more amazingly, they found evidence that the city had indeed been destroyed when it sank into a giant sinkhole, exactly as the legend described. The discovery of Iram revolutionized our understanding of ancient Arabian civilization. The ruins showed evidence of advanced engineering, including a sophisticated water management system that allowed a massive city to thrive in the desert. Sometimes it takes modern technology to prove ancient legends true. High in the Himalayas lies the legend of Shangra, a paradise valley where people age so slowly they seemed immortal. While the name comes from James Hilton's 1933 novel, Lost Horizon, the myth draws on much older Tibetan legends of hidden valleys called Beals, where enlightened beings preserve sacred teachings. What makes Shangri-La fascinating isn't the question of whether it existed, but how many real places might have inspired it. Tibetan texts describe numerous hidden valleys that served as sanctuaries during times of trouble, complete with descriptions of local landmarks and routes. Modern researchers have identified several valleys that match these descriptions perfectly. Even more interesting, scientific studies have shown that some Himalayan valleys really do have unusual properties, from unique magnetic fields to rare medicinal plants that can extend human lifespan. Sometimes the line between paradise and reality is thinner than we think. Our final destination is perhaps the strangest, a city in the desert, built of brass and copper, where an entire population lies preserved like they're sleeping rather than dead. Arab geographers wrote about it as a real place, describing expeditions to find it, while The 1001 Nights presents it as a cautionary tale about hubris. The fascinating thing about the City of Brass is how it combines elements of real archaeological sites. The preserved bodies recall the desert mummies of China's Taklamakan Desert, while the metal construction resembles ancient copper-smelting cities found in Oman and Saudi Arabia. Recent archaeological discoveries in the Arabian Peninsula have uncovered evidence of sophisticated metalworking cities dating back thousands of years. While we haven't found a city made entirely of brass, we have found ancient settlements with massive metal fortifications and advanced metallurgical industries that could have inspired the legend. From Aslan to the City of Brass, these lost cities represent more than just myths. They're windows into how ancient cultures viewed their own history and values. What's particularly fascinating is how many of these legendary places have turned out to have basis in fact. Whether preserved in ocean depths, hidden in mountain valleys, or buried beneath desert sands, these cities remind us that the line between myth and history isn't always as clear as we think. Modern archaeology and technology continue to uncover evidence that supports elements of these ancient legends. While we might not find Shangri-La exactly as described, or hear the bells of Kitej ringing beneath the waves, these stories have preserved crucial information about real places, events, and civilizations that might otherwise have been lost to time. If you've enjoyed this expedition through history's most mysterious lost cities, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Mythstorian for more fascinating stories where myth meets reality. Hit that notification bell to join our growing community of history explorers and mystery enthusiasts. And here's a question for you. Which of these lost cities would you most want to discover and why? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring the mysteries that shaped our world.